No matter if you have a long history of working your fingers to the bone on your target language or you are an interested novice, the actual way we learn vocabulary is by the concept called incidental vocabulary learning. What is incidental vocabulary learning? Basically, by putting in the hours, listening and listening, or reading and reading, according to Stephen Krashen, we would eventually learn vocabulary. However, the way of learning vocabulary is incidental and not deliberate. By hours and hours of listening or reading, you give more chance for a word to appear, more incidents for you to learn from context. Repetition of a word, and by different contexts, the word is learned. For example, I thought Harry Potter, the first book of the series, would be an excellent starter for my listening immersion career. Thus, I started to listen to its audiobook in my target language, German. This was during a time where I wasn't as strong in German as I am now, especially with listening only. Because of my prior knowledge of the book's plot and my German level, I understood the gist of various scenes and chapters, but not in too much detail. Understandably, I didn't know much of the fantastical words used a lot in the book, like wand, wizard, owl, spells, and so on. But then a word sparked my interest. I kept hearing the word basin. I had no clue what it meant, and because of the nature of my listening immersion, I couldn't stop and grab a dictionary. Basin kept popping up in places where I knew most of the words. Basin was my only hindrance for completely understanding sentences at one point. But then it struck me. One line after Harry asks Hagrid what is Quidditch, it's our sport, like soccer in the Muggle world, played up in the air on basin sticks. Then I understood. The word was broom, like in a broomstick. Basin meant a broomstick. Knowing what Quidditch was, and that wizards usually liked to fly in the air with them, I inferred that basin meant broomstick through this incident. But like I said, I heard basin before, but it's at this instant where the key matched the lock, and I got to unlock the word. Vocabulary is learned incidentally from context, and to maximize the chance of learning words this way is to keep getting input either by listening, reading, or both. Spend a lot of time in your target language so that you can progress. Do anything in your target language. Constantly doing stuff in your target language, as well as having the belief that you can achieve native-like fluency, are big factors to language learning success. Boredom is the opposite of learning. We learn when we truly enjoy it. So find anything that attracts your attention. Films, books, websites, games, you name it. And keep to your target language, be it French, Spanish, Japanese, anything that you chose. A winning race car driver is only skilled because of the countless hours of training, being behind the wheel. Your training continues with the turning of pages, the pressing of play, all in your target language. I mentioned my first book for my passive listening immersion. Well, I'm happy to say that I recently just finished listening to my 9th audiobook, all in German, my target language. I can say that I can hear much better than before. I can not only make up the words being quickly said by the narrator, but also comprehend the words, so that I can build a more detailed picture of the world in the audiobook. This is all due to my hours invested in listening and of the incidental vocab learning technique. Consistency. Find a perfect amount of time to spend breathing your language that isn't too small but also not too challenging. Then go with that. It's all about sustainability for you to continue daily, and that creates consistency. Do not force yourself to speed up more than is necessary. It might seem that you're learning more, but if you do it too much, you will become exhausted. I say this with more active immersion in mind, but also passive, since it still requires some attention. Passive immersion should be done whenever you can, meaning during commutes, time outside, basically any time where you either can't do active immersion and you're not at work. Do remember that it's okay if you don't understand and can't follow what's being said. I made a video about this previously, but the main idea of passive listening is for you to get a sense of the sounds and subconsciously register your target language as babies do when hearing their parents. If you do understand, then that's great. Continue listening. I remember when I was overwhelmed with the prospect of learning German because there was so much material online and guides on how to become fluent that I didn't know how to proceed. But then I took the simple advice to start small and start inputting. Thus, I began my ongoing journey to master that language. Start small, tiny steps, and maybe later you can adjust.